Hey everyone, I hope you've been enjoying this series, and I just want to remind you that this is the last video and it runs about 25 minutes, and then after that I'll have a short studio chat. I hope you hang around with me. It was day 4 along the Oklahoma Adventure Trail, and Mike and I were camped at Quartz Mountain Nature Park near Mangum. Today, our plan was to travel to Wichita Mountains National Wildlife Refuge, where we'd have extra time to explore the natural and human history of the area. While we'd really like to camp within the refuge, the current pandemic policy didn't allow tent camping, so we'd find a place in the nearby community. Tonight would be Mike's last night of the trip, while I planned to have one more. However, sometimes it's prudent to change the best of plans. Anyway, as the day awoke, Mike and I made some minor repairs on our Jeeps, and then Mike told me a little bit about his rig, Iron Jenny.
I was taking Lucy back to Oklahoma City last night, and I got off the highway to get some dinner, and we stopped at a chicken place. Couldn't even go into the bathroom to wash our hands.
You know the use sanitizing wipes?
Yeah.
I hate sanitizing wipes.
Yeah.
And the reason I hate sanitizing wipes is because your hands still feel dirty afterwards.
Exactly.
Even though they're sanitized. So I started carrying, I got a bottle of water. This is for washing my hands.
Okay.
A bottle of camp soap and a towel. And so when I go someplace, you'll see me like after I pump gas or something like that, I'm out there washing my hands off.
That's
People probably think, oh, he came on the other side of his Jeep and peed.
that's
no,
great.
I just washed my hands. Got to replace the windshield wiper. I replace these about every 2 or 3 months. Honestly, if I'm going overlanding, because it streaks a little bit on the windshield. It doesn't bother most people, but it interferes with the camera view. You've probably seen some streaking on this trip. Done.
So I had a little problem with my windshield washers. I broke a fitting. There's an angled fitting here. I don't know if you can see the one on that side, but I broke that fitting before the trip, and I couldn't replace it, so we found a Napa Auto Parts store and found some parts and pieces, and I'm going to see if I can get this fixed so I can clean that side of the windshield. I've had the end of this one taped up so I could actually spray.
Oh, so it wouldn't spray out
on the
hose.
driver's side, yeah.
You don't want to clean your engine bay?
No. It needs it. Let's see. So now we just turn that like that. Mark it about right there. And we will.
Oh, those are good scissors. I have a pair of them.
Snip that off. And hopefully this will line right up and we'll be good to go. There we go.
It looks good. Shall we ops check it?
Sure. Hey, it works.
All right. Outstanding.
We are a family of sailors, and this is our Jeep, Iron Jenny. Her name is a term used by sailors when the wind dies on the water. We fire up the Iron Jenny and motor to our destination. So when we aren't sailing at the lake, we're on an adventure in Iron Jenny. Iron Jenny has a 2.5-inch Rubicon Express lift with helper airbags in the rear springs for leveling and stability with heavy loads or while pulling my off-road trailer. She also has 17-inch Pro Comp wheels with Mickey Thompson Baja ATZ P3 tires. The front bumper is a Smitty-built SRC Gen 2 with a Smitty-built 10,000-pound winch and a 21.5-inch Trailmaster light bar. The rear bumper is an Atlas swing-out tire carrier which holds 2 jerry cans of fuel, high lift jack, CB antenna, and Pro Comp floodlights. Also have Atlas rock sliders on the sides. On the front of the Jeep I have a Pro Comp LED headlights and then rock lights underneath it. They're Pro Comp as well. I have a rough country MLC switch pod to control the lights, as well as the ARB single stage air compressor that's under the hood. I have a Midland handheld CB radio that goes in the Jeep when we're off-road, and that's about it.
I've got a half tank of gas, so that's my concern. But we're
Yeah, I'm about
going to be
the same.
We're going to be going from Quartz Mountain over to the Wichita Mountains National Wildlife Refuge. That area over there,
Yeah.
Medicine Park, or right around Lake Latonka.
Okay.
What I'm looking for is where we're going to have gas. I am not seeing any towns at all.
You would think there'd be something here around this little lake.
I wonder if we need to go back to Mangum. No, let's see. There's a community right here.
And we're pulling out of the Quartz Mountain campground this morning. And we've had deer all over the campground. At one time I counted 15, I think.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 4 of the Oklahoma Adventure Trail of West and Southwest. This morning, Mike and I are departing Quartz Mountain Nature Park. We are headed towards the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge, or that general area. It was pretty cool last night hearing the elk bugle.
It was. I never heard those before. Have a low left rear tire, so I'm going to pull over here and see what's going on.
So when I aired up yesterday after our river crossing, I put about 30, 31 pounds in it, something like that. And overnight, with the temperatures cooling down, the pressure in the tires dropped. So I got a low pressure warning, and so we're going to put a little bit of air in them and get them up and hopefully get that little warning cleared. So.
Did you say that you think there's a gas station up along this road?
Yeah, it looks like 4 or 5 miles up there. We should be able to find some fuel in this small town.
It's a good view of how down the lake is.
That is kind of crazy how low it is. Yeah, I am able to see a few pelicans out there as well.
Welcome to Lone Wolf. We're hoping to find a gas station here. We are all gassed up, headed from Lone Wolf back down the highway here to pick up the trail. Welcome back to the Oklahoma Adventure Trail. Well, at least the wind's going to carry the dust out of the way.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of today we're heading east, so hopefully it'll do like you said, just blow it to the north and you won't have to be eating your dust all day.
It's kind of pretty out here. had get at some elevation getting over that pass, but we made it.
Something does.
Over on the right there, that mountain that looks like Diamond Head in Hawaii is Mount Sheridan. That's in the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. And then the one to the left of it, that's at the end, it looks like the end of the range, is Mount Scott. Nice view of Mount Sheridan and Mount Scott. This is the Mirrors Restaurant. It's supposed to be the best hamburger in the state. It's a pretty good hamburger. So what we're looking at, Mike, is the parallel forest, and this was created during the Dust Bowl days. The federal government came in and planted all these cedars. It's rumored to be haunted.
Bison in here. Over at 3 o'clock, you see some structures back behind those hills over there.
I do.
That's the Holy City. We'll stop at some of these places, but right now let's just go to the visitor center, okay?
If you haven't picked up on it yet, on the left side of us, that fence there.
I see that.
Yeah, that is the Fort Sill Artillery Range, and those signs on it are warning you to stay out.
Looks like the visitor center is closed. That's too bad. I think we're going to stop here and go on to Parker Lake.
go stop at the Prairie Dog Town for a little while.
Looks like wild ones out here on the left of you.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Departing the Prairie Dog Town. They put a little show on for us. There were some bison there on the other side of the road. There's a lot of rock climbing here. They do climbing on Mount Scott, Elk Mountain, 40-foot hole.
That's cool. That'd be interesting to watch.
The Cairns Garden area, there is backpacking to camp overnight there. This home was built by the Fergusons in 1927. They lived there for many years. There was a huge fire in the refuge a few years ago, and I had heard this was one of the buildings that was damaged, and it looks like they pretty much had to replace all of the wooden parts of the building.
My daughter parked down here at the front of her estate. It's like straight up all these slabs are straight up to the top. When I did it, I followed the road.
Wow, she climbed straight up it?
Not rocks or anything like that, but you know, hiking up it.
Oh, Monday to Friday, vehicles are all day. Saturday and Sunday is when they restrict them, noon to sunset.
I see.
And we are turning up Mount Scott.
Lake Elmer Thomas. And scuba diving in there. We've talked about trying to get Lucy and Emma both certified.
When you get up here, it just really looks like you've really gone up in the sky, doesn't it?
It really does. It's very impressive off here to the right. All the mountains in the distance. It's pretty.
We are headed down off Mount Scott. While we were up here, Mike got a call from his wife giving us a heads up to check on the weather. So I turned on the NOAA radio, and they are reporting high winds coming into the state later tonight and continuing for the next couple of days, reaching up to 50 miles an hour.
Wind strong. Gusty north winds will continue through Thursday morning across parts of the area. The strongest winds are expected across the western half of Oklahoma and western North Texas, where gusts of 40 to 50 miles an hour are possible.
Mike and I are camped in places in the open, and we've decided that maybe we've covered enough. We drove the Oklahoma Adventure Trail from Seiling to Mount Scott. Actually, we'll drive just a little bit more of it. Good time. Medicine Park is kind of a artsy-craftsy kind of community.
I bet my girls would like this.
You can kind of see why I wanted to come through here. It is kind of neat in here.
That's very cool. I like this. Oh, this is very cool. Little swimming area over there. It doesn't feel like we're in Oklahoma right now.
This is so very not Oklahoma.
Very true. That's very unusual. Very, very neat.
And it's the main street where all shops are at. It had been a great time along little-traveled parts of western and southwestern Oklahoma. It would have been nice to see other attractions of the area around the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge, the Quanah Parker Star House, Holy City, Cairns Garden, Elk Mountain, Geronimo's Grave and Jail Cell, the Fort Sill Museum, and so on. But all of that will be there for a future trip. And there is so much more to Oklahoma to surprise the overlanding community. 1,400 miles of the Oklahoma Adventure Trail make a strong case for that. Okay, so you're either in the video or out of the video. Right now you're halfway in.
Okay.
Well, welcome back to my studio office, and I'm glad you're going to hang around for a few minutes with me as I discuss a couple of things that happened during this trip. But before I get to that, let me discuss something that happened during my previous trip with Mike from Colorado, the TAT, which was also run across Oklahoma. And I meant to include this in the studio chat for that, but it slipped my mind as I was preparing it. I just want to say, on the Transamerica Trail, when Mike and I were driving that, we put out 2 campfires. And one of the fires, it had actually blown up into open flames. And in both cases, these fires were in campgrounds. There was a water spigot about 15 feet away from the campfire. And so I'm aghast as to why people didn't put out the fire. And my own rule, and I would hope that this is your rule also, if I don't have enough water to put a fire out and there's no spigot handy, if I'm camped in a remote area, then I don't have a fire. It's just that simple. You either have enough water to put a fire out and you put the fire out, or you don't have a campfire. It's too dangerous for people to leave a fire smoldering, and especially when they leave wood in the fire, as that one did. They had big logs in there that were catching on fire. I know you try and do that on purpose and you can't catch them on fire, but these were going pretty good. And by the way, on that one with the open flames, a ranger had noticed it as he was driving by, and he happened to come over as I was pouring the water on it. And he thanked me, of course, and he said, it happens all the time. So I beg you, please be careful with fire out there. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to talk about is the Canadian River. You may recall that on day 2, Mike and I drove a little bit in the Canadian River. We didn't go very far at all, maybe if even a half mile, if even that. And I just want to point out that some areas of that are open, some areas are closed. There were plenty of tracks down there, so we assumed that it was okay to go down there. And there was an access road. Other areas they've blocked off. I know further down, closer here to Oklahoma City, I've been on a couple areas in the past. If you were to dig way deep in my videos, you could find some old videos about it. And I just want to say, it is a lot of fun, but that is a river that has quite a bit of quicksand. If you go find those old videos of mine, you can see several vehicles, several trucks that are stuck deep in quicksand. And you can see me, if you ever see me rocking my feet when my boots sink in about 6 inches, that was in that same river. So it's something to be careful of. And on top of that, even if you don't get mired down in the quicksand, that stuff is so fine, it just gets into everything. And within a few months after going on those 2 trips, which are just 2 weeks apart, at the Canadian River, I had to replace a U-joint and 2 unit bearings because they'd become damaged by that fine sand getting inside past the seals. So just be aware, go play, have fun, stay legal please, and be prepared for the consequent maintenance problems. The next thing I want to talk about is drones. We used drones just a couple of days, and the reason for that is because of the same reason that we canceled the trip a little bit early. There was a lot of wind, and even on one of the days when we were flying the drones were giving us warning that there were high winds. They were troopers, they did great, and they gave us some really neat footage. But I just wanted to point out, that's why you didn't see as much drone footage. We would have loved to. Almost the entire trip, we were pretty much free to use drones, and it'd been a lot of fun. One thing I will point out about drones in the state of Oklahoma, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. The state of Oklahoma has a law that says that if somebody sees a drone and thinks it's threatening them, violating their privacy, something, I don't know, they're allowed to shoot at it, shoot it down. I don't want to become the case for the FAA. The FAA rules the skies, not the state of Oklahoma, but I don't want to be the case for them. So we always avoid flying it around people, and we avoid flying it around their livestock. So just keep that in mind. The Oklahoma Adventure Trail crosses a couple of wildlife management areas, so I did some research. I contacted the wildlife department and got some information, and I just wanted to pass that on to you just so you're aware. If you're driving through a wildlife management area on a county road, which is what happened to us, that's fine. You don't require any special license or anything else. But if you do pretty much anything beyond drive-through, then you need a license. And that would include, for example, you stop and have lunch. Or maybe you pull off to the side because you see an interesting critter over there and you want to get some photographs of him. So you do a little chasing of him. You're going to require a license. And any hunting or fishing license from the state of Oklahoma will do just fine. There's also conservation passes. I would just encourage you, if you don't have a hunting or fishing license and you want to drive some of these areas, check it out, find out what the rules are. And then one other thing worth pointing out is wildlife management areas are going to be closed during certain seasons. So I'd recommend, if you plan on driving through those areas, it might be a good idea to go ahead and, if you don't have a fishing or hunting license, to go ahead and get one. so that you're covered just in case you decide to do something else. You might see a great place to stop and have lunch. You don't want a game warden to come along and ruin your day. He doesn't want to come along and ruin your day either, probably, but he will. And the last thing I want to talk about is the river ford. And all I got to say is, I should have done what Mike did. Let the other guy go first. I'm just kidding, of course. But he did have the advantage of seeing what I did wrong, and I did a lot wrong. Don't follow my example, and I'll talk about that. The effort that you saw of me to get up over there was actually much longer than what you saw. There were several attempts at trying to get up there, and I just gotten into lulled myself into a bit of overconfidence. We were driving, we were on roads, we were on pavement, we were on dirt, we were back and forth, and we were doing that so much that we weren't airing down. And so I was fully aired up. And for some reason, it didn't even dawn on me to go to four-wheel drive low. I just drove right across that sandy river and drove right up the other side like I was just going to drive right up it. Because I really thought I was going to be able to. I didn't think it was that bad. So I got stuck. And so Mike came up and we decided just to go ahead and winch it. That looked like the easiest thing. I mean, we could have got the max tracks off the roof and stuck them down there. It's just like, there was a good tree up straight in front of me, put that on there. And having a four-wheel drive low, I did have the lockers engaged before I started up it though, and so that wasn't the problem. So the problem was, there were a couple of problems. One was, there was a bit of a hole on one side, and so you didn't see that in the video, but there was a bit of hole on the passenger side that I didn't see. And so that became obvious once I got stuck in it, and especially when Mike called me on the radio and said, "I think you're in a hole." And he was right, I was. And so I hadn't really high-centered, but I wasn't getting much traction from that wheel. So when I got stuck, Mike came over, he helped me, and really he got to do something that I did not do, and I should have done. I should have parked, I should have got out of my rig, I should have walked up there and I should have looked at it first. And I should have picked out a line. The second thing I should have done is, I probably should have aired down. Because basically Mike got to do that in all the time he was helping me winch my rig. He got to see what the area looked like. He also got to see the line I took and realized, okay, maybe if I can move over just a little bit, this is the really deep sand here, I'll get over here just a little bit. He was only over about a foot from where I was, and he managed to stay out of some of that deep sand. And finally he aired down. And he drove right up it, as you saw. That was his first and only try, and he made me look bad. So, hey, I tell you what, we did that just for the gram. That's my story, I'm sticking to it. Okay, that's not true. Anyway, don't follow my example, do better, but be prepared just in case you make a mistake. If you don't make mistakes, I tell people say, "I've never been stuck," and they think that's great. I say, if you've never been stuck, it just means you're not trying hard enough. You got to keep trying harder. Find out what your limits are. Okay, I found out my limit there. So, by the way, I should also point out, Mike's rig does not have lockers. I mean, he just drove right up that, no lockers, aired down, four-wheel drive low, and he managed to get right up it. So, follow his example, not mine. Let him go first next time. That's my example. Alrighty, then I want to introduce one last thing. I've made a couple of posts about it, but I don't know if anybody's been reading them. And that's kind of the point. I started a new series of short videos called Creating the Scene. And what I'm going to do for each video that I release, I'm going to pick on one scene or one specific subject in that video and focus on how we created that scene. Maybe what kind of camera gear we used or where we placed the cameras at, or how I edited it. It's going to be focused primarily around those kind of things. And it's not just video, it's going to be video, including sound, because sound's a very important part of video, as well as still photography. And it's going to vary a little bit. These are not publicly listed, so you can't find them if you go to YouTube and you search for these videos. The way you find these, and this is why I'm doing this, is you read the description for the video that it's taken from. The video descriptions as well as the playlist descriptions have info. I have people all the time ask me, do you have a build video for your rig? I have 10 videos that discuss how my rig is built and how I do, what kind of camera gear I carry and how I do editing. I have 10 videos that do that, but they're all attached to other videos. They're all after the other videos. And so it's obvious that they have not been reading video descriptions, because the video description has links to all of those videos. And by the way, if you want to find the right video description and you're saying, do you have a build the video? They're in the Trans-America Trail series, the original Trans-America Trail series, not the Oklahoma series. Go to the playlist description and read that, and you will see 10 videos listed that talk about the cameras I use, and the electronics I use in the Jeep, the recovery gear I carry, the tools I carry, all kinds of different things like that are discussed in those 10 videos. And they're done as studio chats after each one of the 10 parts of the Trans-America Trail video. So, read the video description and you might find something interesting, especially if you're a photographer, videographer. And if you don't find anything interesting, that's fine. I don't expect a lot of people to watch them. Right now, I've had one posted up for each day, and I think I've got a total of 6 or 7 views. So I don't expect a lot of people to want to see those, but there might be something interesting in there, so take a look at them. All right? All right, so checking my list here. Looks like I got it all covered. Y'all have a great day. Explore your world.